Hello YouTube, LD50 here, back with another video, and today I'm going to revisit my melee flak build. Since we've had the level cap increase to level 65, we have 5 more points, and I wanted to show you where I'm putting those points. I've also made a little bit of change with the equipment that I use, only a very minor one, and I'll explain that as I go through. But it was time to update this build, and we'll also do a bit of challenging content. I think we may do a Malawan run to show off the build. But first of all, let's dive right into the equipment and the skill trees. So, the main change I've made with my equipment here is I'm now using a consecutive hits anointed Facepuncher for mobbing, as opposed to the action skill active Facepuncher. The action skill active Facepuncher is still preferable for bossing, but for mobbing it's very easy to keep up the consecutive hits, the pet damage, your own damage, plus the Hunter Seeker, which we'll talk about in a moment, all provide consecutive hits damage, which keeps this anointment alive, and this anointment will top out at around about 200% for full stacks, which means that you have the full benefit of this anointment whether you are in fadeaway or not. Remember that this, if you've seen my original video, remember that this is a fadeaway build. So in the previous video I was getting 200% weapon damage whilst in fadeaway, but outside of fadeaway I wasn't getting much extra. But also bear in mind that the main damage that comes from this build is from the melee damage. The level of the weapon that you use is pretty much immaterial. You can see that I have level 60 action skill active Facepunchers here, but my consecutive hits are level 65. I haven't got round to farming some new action skill active Facepunchers yet, but quite frankly there is very little difference in the amount of damage that you will do between these two level weapons. I'm still using my level 57 Trick Unforgiven for crit swapping. I have updated my Frozen Heart to a level 65, and that is because the Cryo Nova damage now scales with Mayhem, so it is worth getting yourself a higher level Frozen Heart if you can. The Nova damage is substantial now. In the first build video, the level cap hadn't been raised and the Nova damage had not been scaled on shields, and so really the Nova damage was just to freeze enemies, whereas now it freezes enemies and it deals substantial damage. And then lastly, the main difference is I've started to use a Hunter Seeker. I prefer to have a Hunter Seeker with ASE bonus radiation on it, to give me some extra damage outside of fadeaway, and I like to have cryo as my element on the Hunter Seeker, because cryo will help to freeze enemies, and frozen enemies take more melee damage. Now the reason that I am taking the Hunter Seeker now as opposed to the cryo hex, which I had in my previous video, is we are now taking Megavore, and the Hunter Seeker, if you did not know, can proc Megavore, and it can also proc Leave No Trace and Head Count. So we'll go down the green and the blue trees first, and then we'll concentrate on the red tree. The red tree is where I've made the changes. So blue tree is unchanged. We're still putting 2 out of 2 into Ferocity and 3 out of 3 into Persistent Hunter. We're still putting a single point into He-Bites, and we're still putting all of our 5 points into Frenzy. On the green tree, again, it's not changed. We're still putting 5 out of 5 into Self-Repairing System, 5 out of 5 into Eager to Impress, single point into All My BFFs, single point into Lick the Wounds, 3 out of 3 into Turn Tail and Run, 5 out of 5 into Hidden Machine, 3 out of 3 into the Fast and the Furious, 2 points into Rage and Recover to get us down to the power inside the capstone. So the green tree is unchanged from the last build, and the blue tree is unchanged. But where we have changed this build a little bit is we are now able to get down to Megavore. So from the top we still have our 5 out of 5 into Planetary Stalker, 3 out of 3 into leave no trace. I think in the last build I only had 2 out of 3 into there, so we were able to put an extra point there. 3 out of 3 into head count, 5 out of 5 into hunter's eye. We're leaving Two Fang alone because we're using a multi-pellet gun, and the chance would only be 25% to add an extra projectile, so that would take our ×7 face puncher to a ×8, or a ×14 to a ×15, which is a lot of points to invest for not a great deal of extra damage. It has been pointed out that having an extra pellet can increase your chances of landing a sticky bomb from the white elephant. I don't feel that it's worth the point investment. 3 out of 3 into big game, and 3 out of 3 into the most dangerous game. Those are no-brainers. We're just putting 2 points into Grim Harvest. It's a little bit of extra gun damage, action skill damage and pet damage. The action skill damage we're really not taking advantage of because it is a fadeaway build, but the gun damage and pet damage is worth having. Single point into Galactic Shadow, which we had in the last build, and then finally we have gotten down to Megavore. Flak gains a chance to score a critical hit with weapons against any part of enemies. Now, this isn't true crit damage. It doesn't get all of the bonuses that you can get from crit damage, passives on comms, passives on artifacts, etc. But it is extra damage, and it's worthwhile going down to. So that is the build. Currently I'm using the Jabber with the SMG. I like to have this pet because he keeps consecutive hits alive, and he also keeps Frenzy alive. Now Frenzy is a great skill. It's 4% damage per stack at 5 out of 5, and we have a full 5 stacks, so giving us 40% extra damage. However, if we put our bounty hunter comm on, then we get that boosted to 8% per stack, so that's a further 80% damage, which is, you know, close to doubling your damage. If we choose to put the Cosmic Stalker comm on, then obviously we are able to get down, and this particular comm has 3 out of 3 in big game, so that's giving our hunt skill duration even longer, 3 times, and giving us 60% extra on the hunter skill effects. It's also got a couple of points into Interplanetary Stalker, which is increasing our damage, our pet damage, and giving us some bonuses against different types of enemies, robots, humans and beasts. It also means that our hunt skill power is increased by 25% with the comm. So that's the updated build. I'll just run past these skills again so you can see the tree a couple of times. I will link in the description of this video to the BL3 skill calculator where you can see the skills easily. Guardian rank, we have all the way down to Groundbreaker. This is an end game build. Whilst this build will work without Groundbreaker, I do urge you to invest the 125 points to get down to here to give you this extra damage. The other skills that you might want to consider, if we are using the Frozen Heart, then we would like to have our shield up as much as possible to get the bonuses from topped off, and also just for survivability. However, for some instances we might want to use a low level Brawl Award. I have one here that's a level 1. This one happens to give 300% melee damage while shield is depleted. So if we were doing a boss, say Grave Ward, we might want to strip our shield using a low level sellout. That would strip our Brawl Award. Let's put it on so you can see. We would strip our Brawl Award. There you go. Like that. and whilst the shield is down, we're getting all that bonus roid damage. Now, if you do use this shield, you would want to turn off shield reboot and emergency response. You would disable these perks like that, because you don't want that shield coming back so quick. We'll strip it again and we'll see that it takes a little bit longer to come back. The longer you have the shield down, the longer you get the bonus melee damage. But for general mobbing and for general purposes, I tend to use the Frozen Heart. Let's put the Trick Unforgiven back on again. Now, you don't have to use the crit swap mechanic with this build. It will work without. It is useful though if you are against beefy enemies, or if you've gone down into fight for your life and you're unable to be revived by your pet. You can shoot an enemy on his crit spot, swap to the Unforgiven, and that will give you the extra damage you need to get back up from fight for your life. Also, if you want to do trick shots against Grave Ward or some of the other bosses that can be killed with one shot or two shots, you can use the crit swap mechanic. We will do a couple of kills on Grave Ward with and without the crit swap mechanic just to show you, and then we will probably go over and do the Maliwan takedown, or we'll do them in the other order. I'm not sure yet. Anyway, I'll see you over somewhere and we'll do some combat. Welcome back. Here we are over at Grave Ward. I have equipped my action skill active Facepuncher for this kill because it is a boss, and my low level sellout, my brawler ward, and I have disabled shield reboot and emergency response to try to keep that shield down a little bit longer. We're going to drop down. We're going to allow him to do his first phase where he tilts the platform, because we want him to present his left arm that holds the large yellow crit spot orb. The orbs in his arms take more damage than the crit spot on his chest. That's a thing to be noted about Grave Ward. It does make the kill a little bit easier. We'll do this kill with the crit swap method, and then we'll do it without the crit swap method, just to show that it can be done. I don't think we'll be achieving a 1 or 2 shot with the non-crit swap method. We'll see how we get on with the crit swap method first though. Let's drop down. Get our sellout ready. He's going to tilt the platform. Need to avoid these rather dangerous corrosive orbs there. We'll wait for him to do the animation for putting his arm forward. There you go. Let's strip our shield, swap to our Facepuncher, go into fadeaway. Couple of shots, swap to the Unforgiven there, and as you can see, he disappears in a puff of smoke. So we'll try that again without using the crit swap method, just to see how it is doing. Right, for the second kill on Grave Ward, we have taken off our Unforgiven, so we're just going to strip our shield with the sellout and use the Facepuncher. We may have to use a couple of cycles of the action skill. I'm not sure yet. I normally do it with the Trick Unforgiven, but let's see what happens. Again, we'll avoid his first phase.
Feel the bloodlust.
He's going to present his arm in just a moment. There we go. And yeah, took about 3 shots there. So as you can see, you don't really need to use the trick Unforgiven. Plenty powerful enough without it. If crit swapping is not your thing, then this build is just perfect anyway. Right, I think what we'll do now is we'll head on over to the Maliwan takedown, and we'll do a quick Maliwan takedown run. See how we perform in that environment. We'll be changing over to our consecutive hits anointed Facepuncher, and we'll change over to our Frozen Heart. So I will see you over there. Welcome back, YouTube. Here we are at Midnight Cairns. We're going to do a run through the Maliwan takedown with our updated melee flak build. I have equipped my consecutive hits Facepuncher and my Frozen Heart shield. You will notice that during the gameplay that the Nova damage from this shield is now scaling with Mayhem, and will be doing a lot of damage. Let's push forward. We're going to mostly ignore the first enemies, but we do need to get our consecutive hits anointment active, so we'll throw out a couple of Hunter Seekers, possibly a couple of shots here and there. That should be enough to get the anointment active. There we go, the force feeder's open. Let's take care of him. Doesn't give us too much of a hard time. Couple of flying enemies up there. Those particular flying enemies are very accurate with their weapons. He's hiding up here. There he is. Somebody's got a very accurate gun over there. More enemies at the back here that like to hide. There he is. If we can't hit him, we'll use the shield to freeze him and bring him down. Right, we could probably do with letting our action skill cool down a little bit, so we've got it ready for the Kraken. Most of the barrels are out the way. Get some hits here to activate the consecutive hits anointment. We'll go into fadeaway. And that's the Kraken down. That's them down. And there we go. We're going to wait for our action skill to come back, and we're going to demonstrate the power of the Frozen Heart shield by having the Valkyries go directly into their first immune phase with just one activation of the action skill to activate the anointment on the shield. So the Frozen Heart shield has an anointment on action skill start, activate any effect that triggers on shield break or fill. Well, when the shield breaks, it creates a large cryonova dealing X amount of damage. This damage scales with mayhem now. So what we're going to do is we're going to drop down, we're going to throw out a couple of grenades to get our consecutive hits up, just so that it's live. Then we are also going to get close to the Valkyries, activate our action skill, and with a bit of luck, just activating the action skill will create a Nova doing enough damage to put the Valkyries straight into their first immune phase. Let's see if we can achieve that.
That's the spirit. They'll never.
And there you go. Just by activating that shield, we have skipped their first immune phase, or skipped through to their first immune phase.
Let the life flee from you.
A little bit of poor gamesmanship by myself there. I stood on the pool of lava. But this build is certainly capable of getting back up from that type of situation. Groundbreaker is also working here, giving us a lot of extra damage. See that Nova dispatched quite a few of those dogs in one go. And here come all three Valkyries. We'll get some Hunter Seekers out to help with Groundbreaker and to help bring our action skill back quicker. There you go, Valkyrie's done. Quite trivial, really. If I hadn't stood in the pool of lava up here, we would have been fine. So we'll push on through to the next area, make our way along the bridge to Watan, and see how we do against Watan. Top up on ammo quickly. Barrels are not your friends, particularly shock barrels. They will take your shield out. They scale to mayhem. The passives that I have on my common artifact are helping with the splash damage and the splash damage radius, which means that when these sticky bombs, which deal splash damage, explode, they have a larger area of effect. Get a little bit of reflected damage from the enemy shields there. Let's throw out a couple of Hunter Seekers to try to get our action skill back a little bit quicker. It's back. A couple of enemies in the back there. Let's see what we can do with that. There we go.
Feel the bloodlust.
And again, gone down a little bit there. I think a little bit too much splash damage from barrels and stuff was getting me, but no problem getting back up with the help of my pet. You're able to play very aggressively with this build and be certain that you have no trouble getting back up from Fight for Your Life. Somebody who perhaps is a bit of a better player than me might not go down quite so much. Rid of those barrels.
Takes all.
Couple of Hunter Seekers out again. Or they like to move around, and I'm not a very good aim. Certainly not with a PS4 controller anyway. Keyboard and mouse, different thing altogether.
Thrill of the hunt.
We'll reserve our action skill for the two heavies that are just about to come at us now. And there we go. Top ourselves up with some ammo and move forward to Watan. So the big thing, the big difference really between this build and the last build is our use of Megavore. Because we can use Megavore, all the way down at the bottom here, we can use our Hunter Seeker to activate head count. That's why I was throwing out the occasional Hunter Seeker to get the action skill back a little bit quicker. It also helps with leave no trace, which means that we can fire longer without having to reload. So yes, the extra 5 points on this build have really improved the damage and the power survivability, basically just made it an all-round better build. We'll go down, take on Watan, and then we'll have one last recap of the build, and there we go. Yes, let's move forward. Couple of Hunter Seekers for the consecutive hits. Go into fadeaway. Let's get a good couple of 3 shots onto his crit spot. There we go. He's through his first phase. Get rid of his shield. We'll take care of a couple of these ads because these are going to give us a hard time if we're not careful. And then we'll concentrate on the big lad. Back to fadeaway. And we've managed to go down from some damage around here. Drone Ranger is a really good modifier to have because it can provide you an opportunity for easy second wins. Let's try that again. 1, 2, 3. He's into his shield phase. And we can probably go in here and take his first shield down. And we've got enough sticky bombs on there to take his second shield down. Let's take some of these ads out of the way because they really are giving us a hard time. And then we need to concentrate on the second half, better half, sorry, the flying bit. And there we go. Where's Watan gone? Oh, dearie, dearie, dear. That's very poor gamesmanship by me. But if we do that, we have taken him down. So there you go. Bit scrappy because I'm trying to talk at the same time, but a very, very, very easy takedown. So that is the updated Melee FL4K build. For this run we were using the consecutive hits anointed Facepuncher, using our trick Unforgiven to crit swap occasionally, our Frozen Heart, Cosmic Stalker, Knife Drain White Elephant, our Hunter Seeker, and this is our skill trees: Hunter, Stalker, and Master. Oh, it looks like I'd actually left these 2 perks turned off. Really, you'd want to keep these perks turned on whilst you have the Frozen Heart on, but it didn't make a whole lot of difference there. That's my bad. And then finally, these are the modifiers I was using. I like Speed Demon because it gets you out of trouble quickly. Pain Tolerance is a not too bad one. I would have preferred Healy Avenger, but I couldn't be bothered to roll for it. Drone Ranger is really good for second wins, as you'll notice there in the Watan fight. I was able to get a second wind off of the drone from one of those little enemies. And Dazed and Infused for a melee build is proving to be the best hard modifier. Or let's say it's the least objectionable hard modifier. I don't particularly like to be chased around by death afterwards, and I don't really like playing with no fight for your life. So I've been choosing Dazed and Infused recently for my melee builds. That is the Melee FL4K build updated for level 65. I do hope you've enjoyed this content. If you have, please leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. Please also consider trying out this build. The gear is not difficult to get. In fact, all of the gear for this build is vanilla gear. You won't need a DLC to run this build. The Facepuncher, the Unforgiven, the Frozen Heart, the Bounty, so Cosmic Stalker, the Knife Drain White Elephant, and the Hunter Seeker all fall within the main vanilla game. You do not need DLC for this build. That's Melee FL4K. I've been LD50, you've been lovely, and I'll see you in the next one.